All right, welcome everybody. Doug here with the LincolnList.com. This is the stock market weekly review for the 29th of June. Not only are there just a few days left of trading for the month of June, it's also going to be a short week this week. We have Friday off in celebration of the 4th of July holiday, so everybody be safe and enjoy that. But more importantly, this next few days will mark the halfway point of 2015. And this is the time that you need to go back to all of those goals and things that you had set for yourself back at the very beginning on January 1st and make that decision. Are you where you need to be as a trader, and are you progressing as you feel you should be? If you're not, I urge you to visit the LincolnList.com. Take a 14-day free trial to our live trade room. It is not a chat room. We do not chat trade stuff. We show you live in real time. Every trade you see live on screen. That way you see exactly how that trade is made and you learn from it and you will get better. So visit the LincolnList.com, take the free trial. Now we'll pick up here and talk a little bit about the SPY. We still have some grease issues overhanging about defaulting. So it's still stuck in that channel, but still a little towards that 212 area, the upper area of it. We're starting to see a little bit of fade, but nothing we haven't seen already. As I mentioned last week and the previous week, until we get underneath of 207s and start closing down towards the lower 207s, will I maybe change my stance here and think, okay, well, we might see a correction. But until that happens, I think it's just going to be chopping back and forth. As I did mention, though, in the last couple of weeks, this SPY is no longer, in my opinion, a really good market indicator because we've seen chop back and forth, but still there have been industries just ripping. I mean, like the China stocks were hot a couple of weeks ago up until just a few days ago as well. The biotech sector has been hot no matter what the SPY is doing. So there's still these great sectors and these little internal movements that are happening, and it's not really reflecting in the index. So we don't want to pay too much attention to that. Speaking of that, the big story, at least for me, was we saw a pretty heavy sell-off in the China markets on Friday. It kind of 7% for them, kind of translated a little over to us. Again, not showing it up here in the indexes, but you saw that with big moves in stocks like YY, QIHU, Yoku, SINA. I'm sure if you've traded for longer than 10 minutes, you have a China list. You remember these stocks. They've been in significant MOMO and significant run-ups over the last couple of weeks and some for months, and you're starting to see some of these drift. Now, the corrections in these, in my opinion, have been pretty sharp. And even though I'm not, a long-term bull on any of these stocks, I think with the last few days, and we can not just the last few days, but we can go back a couple of weeks. Some of these were starting to pull back a little bit after their big runs. They're coming down into some attractive areas to where if a few things line up nicely on Monday, maybe we catch some news over the weekend, some of these could line up for some quick buys. And when I'm saying that, I'm only interested in trading them. I'm not interested in investing in these companies whatsoever or trying to ride these out for a long-term prospectus. I'm just trying to pick some of these up off of some support lines that may bounce 30 to 40 cents. Very good example of this as YY. This is one of my favorites. Trade this stock a lot. It's been very good. That's why I'm going to continue. You get this really nice flush today. Just really starts the day with a lot of panic. One of the things that we like is range. So when you look back at this, the stock will move about $3 to $5 a day in total price. So you begin the day gapping down very close to that 5, and when you get into that whole number area, it's a great spot to start into a smaller position. You get a nice bounce. We picked up some down here towards the lower 69 area. Really sweet bounce. Of course, I sold for a decent gain, but this thing bounced all the way to 72. So you can see with range like this, this is a money maker stock, and there's all kinds of these, especially in the China space. So let's kind of take a look about what we can do with this thing Monday. One of the things I like here is that first little area, that first little pivot just came off of that 50 moving average right here on the daily chart. You see it just kind of pulls nicely from 81 down into 70, got its first little area of support. If this can kind of retest that area or maybe pick up a couple of these shorter term areas, 69.56, 69.30s, and just really hold that and start to push its way up, I think this would be a great opportunity. If it would begin the day, maybe there's some bad news, as I said, that flushes additionally. then I think it would even be that much better of an opportunity for just a quick buy. Maybe you can see that rally for some of you swing traders, 1 to 2 days or something like that. But I like this YY. Kihu, same thing, a couple of nice sell-off days in this one. Now, this one's not quite to a really solid moving average like YY. You got a 20 moving average here at 64.22. So I think this one would have to come back down just a little bit more for me to be interested in. Another one I also like is SINA, SINA. This one's a pretty good one here too. You're just slightly under that off of this 52.98, 53 area. I would put some of these together and start to look for possible early morning flushes and try to catch some bounces. If they gap up, the thing I would not do in this case is chase any of those. I just don't think right now that's a, I mean, maybe that works for you, but I don't think that's the best strategy that you're going to be able to use. A lot of times what happens is when these stocks pull back for several days and they start backsighting, and what I mean by that is you got the accumulation cycle where all the Momo is. That's what this piece was from the 29th of May. You got all this Momo here. Now the volume you can see is dramatically drying up. It's either backsighting or, you know, the distribution cycle is now hitting this trade. The Momo might be permanently gone from something like this. That's not a guarantee, but it's possible. So the bounce is probably not going to be what you expected back here unless maybe there's some news-generated items on top of it. But there are a lot of these that are very, very attractive, that not just what I'm showing you here, but go back and build a list. You got all kinds of others. I said Kihu, Yoku, SINA. You could put Sohu on that list, YY, CM. The list goes on. Pretty simple to find. Pick the ones that are really approaching some great support areas. And that's not the only one. You might want to take a look as well at JUNO, JUNO. Same thing here as far as a former Momo stock really, really being sold off. Here you've got a good retracement from 70 all the way down to 46. Pretty much this entire month has just been a beatdown. And as I said, we're just talking trades here. I don't think you can bury yourself long on something like this and hold unless your time horizon is a decade from now. I still can see further downside. So a lot of these are just trades. And when you get in them, if you get your 40 or 50 cents right out of your trade immediately, I wouldn't hold it, because what we saw today is a lot of these were bouncing. You see bounces all in this chart, but they weren't holding. You know, they would continue to sell off, so we might see a little bit more of that. There's some really strong support right down underneath of this 46, high 45s. You see it hit that today, bounced, possible retest, or a cycle a little bit lower down towards 41. Now, if this thing would flush down to 41, I think it would be a must buy at that level. Of course, that's, you know, we're talking another $6 away, but you never know what can happen in this market. Perhaps we see a lot of panic coming in. It's better to be prepared for a trade that doesn't work than not prepared at all for trades that could possibly work, if that makes any sense. So Juno's one of those. I also put on the watch list going into Thursday night. We talked about CYBR for the members. It was the same thing. I was looking for a 20 moving average bounce, and it just blew right through that thing like it was a wet paper towel. I mean, it just shot right through that. Now you're buried down here on the 50 moving average. So possibly, again, the theme with this one is, for this viewpoint here, is maybe we can get down to some of these other important levels. 62.79 spot, some of that previous support area that held throughout the very beginning portions of the month. As I said, there are several stocks here that, you know, most particularly those old Momo names, the China ones and a couple of these other ones like we talk about, Kite, Juno, CYBR. You can even go put Solars on that list with CSIQ. Some of these have really, really sold off, and what you want to do is pick the ones that are approaching something like a CYBR that's approaching very important, you know, longer term support levels, you know, numbers of importance. That way, at least if the trade isn't that good when you get into it, I shouldn't say it, or doesn't work out that well in the end, at least you're at a pivotal point where the chart will most likely slow down, rather than you just buying a bunch of reds because you say, hey, the stock's pulled back, let me buy some, because not every pullback is created equal. And you just can't buy into, so like you can't buy into green bars, you can't short into red bars necessarily, or buy dips. You have to have specific areas that mean something on a chart to increase your chances of success. There's no guarantees, but you need to be in that position where you can increase your opportunities, increase your chances here. So this I like. I like this a lot, especially if we flush a little closer into that 63. I'd be willing to buy that. So I'm going to leave it at that. There's a few, maybe just throw this rare in there. This is a possible breakout, so I don't even want to talk about rare. I kind of hate this thing, but it looks like it's about ready to gear up. So I'll leave it at that because that's how much I can't stand it. But I think in this opportunity, what we're talking about over the weekend here is you've got some big sell-offs here in some of these names. And as a trade, if you're looking not as an investment, but as a trade only, I think you can find some of these former runners, the big hitters of last month, a couple of weeks ago. Some of these have drifted into some 20 and 50 moving average areas that could make for some very nice, attractive buying opportunities for trades. If the setup is right, you get a little bit of flush, or some of these retest some of those lower areas. They could be some great bounce plays, some very good risk to reward plays, just like YY today. You can get in on something like that. You can risk 20 to 30 cents, but the potential is $2 to $3 of a reversal, and that's where you need to be. If you want to make money as a trader, you need to be in that volatility space. You need to be in those high risk to reward plays. So going back to what I said in the beginning, if you need some help, you know where to go. Visit the linkenlist.com. Don't take my word for it. Watch me trade every day in real time. See it live in front of your face and make your own decision is if you think the environment is the right kind for you that will help you succeed. Don't worry about what I do. Just worry about whether or not we can teach you how to trade and you can take care of yourself forever, because that's what you're in this game for, right? So other than that, you guys have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of the month. Trade well this week. If you don't hear any videos from me, have a great 4th of July. Even if you don't live in this country, take a moment to relax, unwind a little bit, turn those charts off, and just enjoy yourself. Other than that, you guys have a great week. Talk to you soon.